Hi, family. Very unexpected to go live. I don't imagine many of you will be able to tune in, but I cannot help myself. I do see some of you in the house. And yeah, this is amazing, guys. And I have mixed emotions. I wanted to watch it with all of you together. I want to give you some background and be honest that I began reaching out to Candace Owens uh, a few months ago, and I spoke with one of the members about it, and because she was bordering right on gang stalking, a cousin of hers, and it would take me hours to find the clip, but a cousin of hers had informed her that maybe what was happening to her was as a result of the quote from her cousin was, if it when you leave a gang you have to get jumped. And I thought, gosh, she's right there. She's starting to wake up and she's starting to understand. And so she came right out with it. She said the word gang stalked last week, but it was just a word. And so I've been listening because as of now, this video has 1.2 million views, her video. And so I want to discuss how this might help or hurt the TI community. And you might think, well, how could it hurt? And I'll get to that in a minute. So let's watch this together. And I'll be honest, I am not a master of technology. And this is, I struggle with these kind of things. So please let me know in the chat if you're not able to hear something or I'm doing something wrong with all this navigating stuff. So here we go. This is what she had to say. And let me add one more thing. A lot of us woke up when this started to happen to us. So I'm being understanding that she has even said publicly that the assassin, I'll keep that word out, the public, offing of her dear friend kind of caused her to wake up, realize that this is a spiritual war, and to dig a little bit deeper. And I think I've sent her 5 or 6 emails by now. I don't know if I can help her find the real person that did this, but I was trying to help her see the bigger picture. And so I think this is important because of, as of now, 1.2 million views. And so I want to show you the clip and then we'll talk about it.
Said to you that this organization, like the Daily Wire, has, in my view and my understanding of what gang stalking is, has been doing this since the day they fired me. It has not stopped. It has been an onslaught of my life every way, trying to stop speeches, trying to get people to say things about me, having articles written, trying to have other people reach out and go after my advertisers. It has been I was fired from the Daily Wire in 2020. We're in 2026. It has been over 2 years. And you're telling me they stopped personally suing me to get involved with Alliance Defending Freedom and to encourage other people to sue me, as these people are telling me? There was something that Megyn Kelly said. I don't remember who she had on her show, but she was talking about Mark Levin. And she said there is a piece of her that feels like he genuinely wants to hurt her. Like he would want harm to come to Megyn Kelly. Like if someone killed her, he would be happy. And I watched this and I went, yes, in my head, obviously, I said, I agree with this. And this is exactly how I feel about Ben Shapiro. I can't explain to you, but there was an obsession here. He brought back my socials. They make videos. It has not stopped. And I just want to make sure that at every turn, this is the only, I feel like this is the only weapon that I have back against them, is to continually expose the stalking that goes on behind the scenes. There should be, by the way, an organization, if you're going to talk about Alliance Defending Freedom or people that are helping Christians, there should be an organization that is dedicated to protecting employees or former employees or former contractors from this level of nonstop, consistent harassment and focus and obsession. Just fire someone. This should never be happening to you at work. But I will forever publicize it so people are aware of, and obviously people have seen it. They've brought back my socials, and this is apparently going on behind the scenes.
Okay. Okay. So there's more, but I wanted to pause here because this is the dilemma. So amazing that 1.2 million people and counting have now heard somebody that they perceive, that they are trusting, that they are following, that it's normalizing and bringing attention to this. Yes, we are trying to start an organization. Here's where and what I want to help Candace understand, it is not about the job. It is when evil becomes obsessed with your destruction. So as she's trying to understand gang stalking, apparently it was in her workplace. We've all lost jobs due to this. But what I have found, it is when you bump up against and you incite the ire of somebody who is under demonic influence or darker influences. And she talks about that earlier in the video. In her case, obviously, this is public. This is, somebody that she is calling out as being under darker influences. But it is the same with all of us. It is the same. Whether you get involved with them romantically, whether they are a friend, whether they are a hateful, ex, you have come face to face with evil and you have incited its ire, and they come with a mob of them. And what she's referencing with Megyn Kelly and this sense that this person behind the scenes wishes her harm is real. We know this. We have been screaming into the void without people listening. And so I think it's amazing that it's bringing this term to the forefront. I just want to be careful because I watched this happen with the issue of human transportation, if you will, and the exploitation of people. They came out with this movie, The Sound of Freedom, it was called, but it was about children in another country, and it's tragic, and about the prevalence of human transportation, and the United States being the number one consumer of this. But there were many of us adults who were working in that field, and sometimes it can narrow people's view into this only happens to children in a foreign country. So I'm drawing this analogy because there have been many people coming out about things like electronic harassment, but they limit it to the victims being perpetrated against as former government employees or people who were in the military, when in fact that is not the extent of the experimentation of directed energy weapons. And so what I can agree with is that our number one tool is to keep exposing it, to keep calling out the truth, to keep doing this. But it is not the work, her job or her work. This trickles down. They have been doing this to people, and she speaks about it without the terminology, the smear campaigns that she goes on in this video, and I encourage you to watch it. What happened with me, and there's more in this video that I want to reveal about the people behind it. Because I stopped watching her video to send her another email. Like, oh my goodness, we are trying to start an organization for the protection of targeted individuals and to help her see the bigger picture. There's just one war. There's one war, and it's light against dark. It's evil against good, and it is again amping up. So she is very public. She's a very public figure, as is Megyn Kelly, as is many of these. There have been people in Hollywood who have come out. Ye being one of them, about what is going on, and they are dismissed as crazy. And if you've been paying attention at all, that is what they tried to do to Candace when she started speaking about this spiritual war, about things on a more spiritual level. It's actually when I started listening, because I didn't pay attention when it was political type things. But when she started waking up to a spiritual war, is when I started tuning in and trying to see, kind of gauge. Now, I don't know. I've been fooled before, so I am not endorsing or opposing, her as a person or her, what she represents. What I'm concerned about, or what my interest is targeted individuals across the globe. And so when the term gang stalking is taken seriously, then perhaps it's just shedding light. I mean, it's why they are so threatened by light. It is why it takes a mob of people and a group of people to come against just one of us, because they are terrified of light. And I know that's hard to understand, but it exposes their deeds. It exposes them. Truth exposes darkness. Light exposes darkness. And when you start to pull on the thread of this carefully woven narrative and this carefully woven illusion that they have built, the whole thing unravels. And so I'm glad that it may become a more normalized term. I don't like the term because it makes people think of gangs. It makes people, it's come to mean like people hear solely people hearing voices, things like that. I've written academic papers on it, and all the research is talking about, well, it goes along with delusional disorder, and it's been gaslit for so long. So the more times and the more people that can see and hear a rational, tangible explanation for this, the better for targeted individuals. But we want to be careful. And this is why I think it's a question, that this doesn't just happen to celebrities. This doesn't just happen to people in the media. They have been, and when it does happen to them, you think they have not been practicing this for a while. I mean, I did a video where the former FBI chief, the former director of the FBI, came out talking about this, and that was 15 years ago. So this is not new. It's just that, understandably, targeted individuals do not want to put themselves out there. I'll be honest, I didn't think anybody would ever see the little video I put out when I was sitting home one day a year ago, but just thinking there have to be other people out there. There just has to be. And so I want to get to something else, and I want to share something on background. Let me see what you all are saying. And let's see, this is Chaik, who's saying gang stalkers have this weird entitlement to your life. They want to control every aspect of your life. Weird. Absolutely, Chaik. 100%. They are obsessed. And you have to remember that. They may be watching everything you do, but their life revolves around you. Don't make it the other way around. Their whole existence is bent on your destruction. I have done videos about they want you gone. I have to be so careful because I am not Candace Owens. I don't generate that type of audience or income for the platform. And so it's easy to suppress things if I'm too direct. So we have gone through, if you look on this channel, we have gone through smear campaigns, handlers, and I've been keeping a very close eye on this because of is becoming more and more evident of perhaps, I was also a part of the GATE program, and kind of the circumstances surrounding the Charlie Kirk event and I've stayed back because, there's so much noise. But did he have handlers? Was he betrayed? It is obviously, as things are unraveling, becoming more and more evident that this is the case. Without accusing anybody, something's not right. And as you all probably are too, when something doesn't feel right, we feel it. We feel that when something just isn't right, because you've been through this. Breathe is in the house, and I'm thrilled. I finally had the nerve to take down. Oh, I'm not sure what that means. I should have probably read it first, but I'm glad you're in the house. Breathe. You can leave, let's see. Yeah, it says you can leave them behind, but they are still watching. And that is 100% the truth. I have hid for about 5 years, like literally tried to hide under a rock, spent my time running, fleeing from coast to coast and everywhere in between. It would give me a brief reprieve and then things would resurface. And I have told my members I would conduct a social experiment on our behalf. And I have kind of peeked my head out socially from my little cocoon. And the results, they are still there. And so that is 100% accurate. I was lured into a situation. It is unbelievable. I'll do a members video on it. But in general, yes. And the pattern is that even when they drop off, they will reemerge, even briefly. So if you seal up every every kind of portal, every person that is involved, and it can get really intense. It can go from jobs to it kind of gets closer and closer to home as time goes on. And by the time it's into your family and that betrayal starts, it's a really tough position to be in. And most of us wind up walking alone. And there's whole videos on that. I don't, God does remove people for a reason. And so when he shows you that someone is not acting in your best interest, and I mean acting to harm you, it sometimes when it's somebody close to you, it's very difficult to sever that. So I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole. We just did a live stream on the infiltration of family. And so I want to get to something else that Candace is talking about. Let me see. Let me check some of your comments before I see average citizens in the house, and Ricky's in the house, and I'm so glad. So here's user W saying, I'm moving out of town. I pray they don't follow me. I've already lost everything. And user W, I can tell you, and I don't ever give like personal advice. I don't know your circumstances, but I moved and I moved and I moved and I moved and I moved. And this network is so vast and has its tentacles and everything. And I was warned when I fled the first time, no matter where you go, I will know where you are. And it sent like a chill down my spine. But I thought, no, this is before I understood Gangstalking. This is before, all of this. So before I understood what was happening. And so I wish you the best. You will generally, if the pattern holds, get a brief reprieve before they kind of start to reorganize, if you will, around your life. But what you can do is set your life up in a different way. You can be more careful about who you let in. You can, there are deterrents you can set in place that make it more difficult for them. So it gives you this brief amount of time to kind of I can't think of the word, but kind of restructure your life in a way that makes you less accessible to them. You don't, you don't take as many, generally, please don't take as many risks socially. We've done whole videos on how to protect your home, how to protect your phone, but nothing's 100%. The most 100% is you are fighting evil. And so the only thing more powerful than evil is God. And so I don't mean just sit back and wring your hands and pray and do nothing. They say if you pray for potatoes, you better have a hoe in your hand, meaning like you also have to be moving your feet and taking action. But if the only thing more powerful than evil, and they are bigger than us, they are more than us, but they are not bigger than God. So I want to get to what else she was saying later. So I stopped watching the video. I'm like, oh my goodness, she's finally come out and said it. And I went to send her an email. I sent her this email. I come back and there's more. And I'm going to share a couple things, details from my experience that I had not shared before. I have shared only vaguely. So I want to get to what she's saying. And again, bear with me here. It took me a while to find this again. So, okay. Okay, this is about, and we have, oh, sorry, my camera moves with me. I'm sorry. So we have done videos about people automatically think, as I did initially, this is a government program. This is that yes, they are complicit, but it is deeper than that. The power that this involves, we're seeing the front, and I did a whole video on the network that is behind what we see. You know, these are, you can just look at it like a puppet show, honestly. So these players that we see and these organizations that we see, please do yourself a favor and do the research about the power that sits behind all of that. There's a very good documentary called the Pyramid of Power. There's other things you can find, and it is very much being talked about now. People are coming out about the infiltration of the church. People are coming out about a lot of these things and the power that sits behind our government. But the thing is, when you're confused and you're grasping for answers and you think, who could be this powerful, that they could be this orchestrated, that they could find me where I am, that they could hack my devices, that they could smear my name. My first thought was A, organized crime, or B, a government agency. But as I got further in my journey, I began to understand, yes, they have infiltrated law enforcement, the hospitals, the medical field, the governments, because it's not one government, this is global. So they have infiltrated every facet of life. And you start to look at the power that sits behind that. And the files gave us a tiny glimpse into how that kind of power works. And so I do want to play this, which is about that power that sits behind and what they will do. So let me try to do this right for you guys. Not my forte. I'm so sorry. But here we go.
Have said, I feel like they just wanted to say 33 hours because it seems to me like they were signaling to one another. 33. Yes, that stuff exists. Yes, Freemasonry exists. Yes, this exists globally. We just proved that a couple of weeks ago. France, assassin squads tied to Freemasonry. So we can stop pretending that that's a figment of anyone's imagination, least of all mine. That was something that Blake Neff was coming apart about. You think there's, symbolism with 30. Yes, I know that there is symbolism. That symbolism is crucial to Freemasonry. I know that Freemasonic gangs exist and they carry out hits and they murder people. And if you don't know that, I would be pretty surprised, Blake. You wouldn't be so angry if you didn't know that.
That's huge. Yo. Not good at this. That's huge. That's what we're talking about here. We are talking about power, dark power that lies behind the government that does orchestrate this type of thing. Candace mentioned, my goodness, it's been 2 years. Many of us have gone through this for I heard one person say several decades. In my case, it's been covert or overt. They start covertly by watching you and set up all these things. So by the time it comes to your attention is not when it begins. You might want to look at the video I did on like the 6 phases and things like that. But before they make themselves obvious to you, they're working behind the scenes to understand your social network, to understand your habits, to be watching you. And then there comes a time where it goes overt. And so, but what she is saying is huge. And if you've been following me for a while, then you realize that I have talked about the episodes in my life where I had, and I have to be careful here, where I was being given a substance, I would go unconscious and there would be evidence left behind of having been exploited. And and that's the most delicate way I know to put it. I did a members video on while I was sleeping in quotes, meaning I was unconscious, and what happened. I mean, I truly, I feel like I had gotten involved with the devil himself. Like, it really felt like that. It was somebody sent into my life, and who was charming on the outside and set out and was bent on my destruction ever since. And it may go back even further than that, because I think this person was sent. So I believe it began before that. And I don't want to get too off track with this video, but when you carry light and truth and your heart is oriented toward God and toward good, the enemy is keeping track. You know, this is biblical. You can read the story of Job, David, you know, but we don't have time to get into all of that today. But what I did want to show you was, after the incident of the exploitation, I got help and moved and tried to hide. And what happened next was, and I've talked about this, was my car. Now, this is what happened to my car. That is my car. That is my car in 2019. And I believe it was set to blow up. Instead, I had my service dog in the car. Flames just started shooting out of the front window. And I don't know if it's because I tried to run. I don't know if it's I knew too much. I don't know. And then it goes into me trying to get help and me calling hotlines. And I have talked about these places. So I went to do a video on this. When I went to do the video on the hits that she's talking about are very real. And this is not to fearmonger. So please, I need to put this out there, because if I'm going to speak this boldly on this, I don't have security details. My finances have been annihilated over and over and over. And that's the other thing I would say to user W is, every time I moved, I had to basically, well, the first time I fled, it was with a backpack and my dog, and I lost everything. And I would move and I would try to reaccumulate everything that I had lost, get a new car, you know, do all, you know, replace the clothes, you know, the material stuff. And then things would start happening again. I'd flee again. I'd lose all of that. And so they definitely try to drain your resources. So there's a good book. It's not about demons. It's called How to Tame a Demon. It's by Robert Duncan, and it talks about the trade-offs of the things that we choose to do, like moving or not moving, cutting people off, not cutting people, you know, severing relationships, not severing relationships. And it's a very balanced view at it, this kind of darned if you do, darned if you don't. And Candace is right. Our only weapon is truth, or our most powerful weapon is truth and exposure. And so that's why I think it's so important. But I just hope she can zoom out to see that this is anybody who raises the ire of evil. They become obsessed with your destruction, and they do not let go. 2 years compared to what many of us have been going through is a blink in time, not to minimize what she's going through at all. The point being that most targeted individuals have been stripped of their finances. They're living in their cars. They're homeless. They're jobless. It is things that keep me up at night, because I have been through it for years and years and years. And it may be next week that I am walking down the street again with a backpack. I have become okay with that. And they can only unalive me once. I'm not going to live in their prison of fear. I will be prudent. I will do what I can, but I am not going to live in this prison, because they use fear as an intimidation tactic. But I want to show you, and I had showed this one member this same thing. So I went to go back and do this video, because what I did was, after I had woken up on a ventilator, I had been given too much, either of the of something. There were no illicit substances, no alcohol in my system, but I had had these incidents of going unconscious before. And so the last thing I remember is helping a neighbor. And thank goodness I had, because had I been alone or with that group of people, they would not have called 911. When in fact, the neighbor's autistic grandson had run out the door and she was calling for help. So the last thing I remember is my legs feeling jiggly. And I thought it was like all the excitement of what was happening. The next thing I know, I'm gasping on a ventilator in a coma, waking up out of a coma in the hospital. And again, this is not to fearmonger. They generally don't go this far. I was still, though, on and off involved with this person. So, you know, you just have to be careful about who you let in your life. So I'm not trying to fearmonger. What I am trying to do is explain to you, after that incident, the hospital personnel, it took hours and hours and hours, took me to, like, they said, don't go home. You need to go to a shelter. We can't find anything in your blood work except, the doctor, as I came to, is like, we don't understand why you quit breathing. And I'm writing on a notebook and I'm trying to, so when they extubated me, I'm talking to the doctor about these, and my voice is still scarred from the ventilator that was in there. Anyway, so I'm telling him about these incidents, and he's explaining to me that substances that cause, like, and I don't know if I can say it on here, but like, I understand what they mean by grape soda. I think they are talking about a substance that would render someone unconscious. If you have seen any of the files that talk about grape soda, I very much believe that's what it is. So that's what I'll call it. This grape soda does not stay in your system very long, and it is synthetic. He said, so it won't show up in your blood work. I said, what are they giving me? Like, what are they doing? And he said, had you passed, the autopsy might have been able to find it. However, even they have to know what they're looking for. So I started telling my children, everybody, if something happens to me, please have them look for everything. And I fled. So what I want to get at, though, is that this network is so vast and so scary that I'm calling a hotline for help from a shelter, the hospital, like personnel, like the police drove me to this shelter because I was afraid to go home. I was terrified now. And I end up calling a hotline, and after a month, it end up in this place in the middle of the desert. Okay. As soon as I get in there, there's a fence, a fence with barbed wire around it. And I realize it's like a 5-star resort. But I realize I'm trapped. I ended up escaping from there. These were supposed to be the good guys. They're like, and it was gorgeous. So I go to make a video about this on my channel. And I go and I think I'm going to try to find this place online and see if they still exist. This, you all, now, of course, when you're on the ground and you're not paying attention, and this was several years ago, I was not symbol literate. It's what she's talking about the symbol, being symbol literate and understanding it is very important in Freemasonry. It is very important with these secret societies. So mind you, 7 years ago, and I'm on the ground, I'm not seeing an aerial view of this place. But I go back to make a video about this, and I find them, it was again in the middle of the desert. I took out their name and things because I don't want to draw attention and have another target on my back. This is what this place looks like. Look at that pentagram. This is where I was. And my hair stood on end. Like, my hair stood on end. And I watched, they have this little video on their channel about the place. It hasn't changed since 5 years that I looked at it. And this is what's at the end of the video. Is that just not terrifying? So what I'm telling you is it felt like, and I was telling this member that I was talking to, it felt like everywhere I ran, it's like I'm running for help and it's a mirage. I'm running and I wind up in another cul-de-sac, so to speak. And it's operated by the same people. The same people I'm running to were the people I was running from. And so I don't want it to sound hopeless. There is hope. There is hope in God. It is not to fearmonger. It is to put this out there so that people are aware this is real. Like she's saying, this is real. This is not imaginary. You know, I saw this morning, why is it that the current the 33 thing, constant approval ratings are at 33. They've been at 33 for a while now. Like it is real. And there's something where if you look from a spiritual perspective and you listen to people who deal with exorcism and demons, they will tell you that they are very impulsive. They are showmen, that demons are showmen. So that's one part of it. But these secret societies put it right in your face. And once you start understanding and you start paying attention, you can't miss it. And it's like God will open your eyes. When you go through this, it's a trade-off. It is the most horrific thing to be targeted by evil. And that's what it is. Now, I have tried to not leave people behind who are still in a space where they don't understand this is spiritual. We're not talking about ghosts here. We are talking about networks of people who are aligned with, and how do I say, they are aligned with evil. They are worshiping Baal. They are making sacrifices. Please do the independent research on this, because their symbolism is important. And you can see that when I had no idea, I would have never noticed that I recollect it being like a circle sidewalk around these houses. I had no clue. So it is important, like, pay attention, stay awake, stay aware, steady, united, and connected to God. It is the only way, because God will open your eyes. That is the thing that the enemy is not understanding, that he is overplaying his hand, because it will wake you up. And this incident, I think, with Candace's dear friend has woken her up. The smears, the like this, like when evil just descends on you and you're like, what is going on? You know, they're trying to drain her finances on a different level through lawsuits and court systems and things like that. And it's the same crime that Jesus had, which was truth. Like, that is the crime that's being committed, is speaking the truth. And so it will be attacked. I just did a live stream on Sunday about how this goes back before even Jesus, with Plato's allegory of the cave, and how the guy comes back to tell the captives, hey, there's a real life out there. And they turn and it's implied by Plato that they annihilate him. They will tear him. It's the same scripture, that do not cast your pearls before swine. Everyone's heard that. And they take it to mean, like, don't like drop nuggets for people who aren't going to hear it. But the rest of that scripture is, because they will turn and tear you to pieces. That is the rest of that scripture. That's why you don't cast your pearls before swine, because they will turn and tear you to pieces. People don't like the truth. They do. It arises. It incites hostility. And so I wanted to share this with you guys. Let me see what you all are saying. I have done, I have, Real Cowboy, I have been emailing, as I have said, Candace, for the last several months. And I don't go into, and thank you, Red Cowboy, I don't go into my entire story would take, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to put that. Thus, if you are directly connected to God, you can truly change this illusion reality. And thank you, Ricky Tim. Absolutely. And that is our greatest weapon, is truth and exposure. Demons, if you want to look at it as evil people doing dark deeds, they fear and they don't like exposure. And so they will try to take you out. Now, that doesn't necessarily always mean your life. They will attack your finances. They will attack your reputation. They will attack your, if they can't affect you, they will try to affect how other people see you. And so what Candace went through, she was kind of in that system. I'm assuming unbeknownst to her, as she was in the den of wolves and not recognizing who she was affiliated with. But once she started to wake up, I know she's talked about it, that it was a post that it was the Daily Wire she worked for, took issue with, that was condemning something. And I don't want to get into that and get this video, banned. But she came out with just a simple statement. And it has been an onslaught ever since. And what she doesn't understand maybe yet is they are like Rottweiler jaws. They do not let go. They are intent on your destruction. But she has figured out that her greatest weapon is truth and exposure. And so I hope that it helps the TI community. I created a nonprofit so that we could have a safe community in real life. And I went to fill out the tax-exempt forms and realized, wait a minute, I'm inviting the government into this. The other issue is having a trusted group of people. And they attempt to infiltrate this channel. They have attempted to schedule with me because I meet with people to try to help them. There's a link in the description. If you need help, if you want help with cybersecurity, securing your home, how do you deal with the rumor, all of this, I have a link where you can meet with me. The point being, I have had people who have met with me, and one person week after week after week, only to gain access and infiltration. And thank goodness I was uneasy and trusting that. And I can have a full-on conversation without telling you details about where I live, et cetera, et cetera. And still be authentic. And so you just kind of learn these things. But yes, I emailed Candace again. I just don't want the world to make the mistake that this only happens in Hollywood. This only happens when you have power, because so many people have been knocked down from their purpose by this kind of stalking and harassment. Who knows? God had a purpose on their life, and the enemy saw it, and these people saw it, and they swoop in, and they are like a Rottweiler that will not, and no offense to Rottweilers, but their jaws lock on to their prey and don't let go. And that's how these people become. They become, and in my case, with a vengeful and malicious ex, it has been over 20 years. And I insulate myself. I am careful. My own children do not know where I live. And it's sad. It is tragic. And you have to make a decision. It's that same weighing of, what am I willing to risk for my safety? What am I willing to do? It is a trade-off, always. Cameras even can be a trade-off. Don't have them focused on you, because if they hack your Wi-Fi, they're looking at everything you're doing. So if you need help with that kind of thing, please meet with me privately. There's only so much you can cover in a video, but I wanted to share with you all immediately that 1.2 million and counting people are getting familiarized with the term gang stalking and with the idea that this is going on. And it's something. It is something, you all. And so I'm hoping, that it just doesn't become narrow. Let's see. Somebody's in all pat. Oh, Catherine, I had a pastor literally blaspheme my Yeshua right in front of me. Okay, Catherine, thank you for sharing that, and I'm so glad that you found this. Catherine is fairly new. Later in this video, Candace goes into something, and Catherine, I wasn't going to touch on it. I have intentionally stayed out of politics because the whole right left thing is an illusion to me. I feel that I understand that no matter what puppet is put in place, the same power lies behind it. And maybe people go in and with good intentions, but the enemy and this evil has infiltrated the churches, the largest of churches. So later in this video, and since you brought that up, Catherine, if you're not aware, in all four gospels, they asked Jesus what should we watch for in the end times. And I did a poll one time that said, what was Jesus's number one sign of the end? And I put earthquakes, wars, I can't remember, earthquake, wars, nations rising against nations, and deception. And only less than 50% of people that replied were aware that in all four gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, we are told to watch for deception. That is the number one sign. And so what I'm getting at is you don't know deception unless you know the truth. So the word canon, as in biblical canon, means measuring stick. So you measure the things you're seeing and hearing against the truth, the canon. Now, there is other extra canonical literature. I'm not trying to tell people what to believe. Again, even if you look at it as a history book, you cannot mistake its accuracy in delivering what is to come. And so if we're to watch for deception, how do you know if someone's lying to you? You know someone is lying if you know the truth, right? So if I tell you that the sky is green, you know I'm lying because you know that the sky is blue or gray or whatever it is that day. It's only by knowing the truth can you identify deception. And so again, truth in exposing them, truth in terms of guarding against deception. And so I want to read this. Somebody's confused. Catherine says, I don't go now. I was so confused and shocked. That might be a typo. I'm not sure. But let's see what Viva Survivor says. Stephanie says, awake, aware, steady, united, connected. Absolutely. And that has been kind of my motto. It came from one of my videos that talked about the 5 things that gang stalkers fear, which is that you are awake, you are aware, you are steady, meaning you're non-reactive, you're not giving them what they're wanting, you're not, disintegrating the way they are wanting. That's why it's steady. United, they do not want us connecting. I figured that out a while ago. It's why I ever made a video, because they want us siloed and isolated. I thought for the longest time that I was the only person going through this and that nobody would believe me. I mean, that's what they do to you. You start questioning everything. And after about 5 years, I thought, I cannot be the only one out here. I cannot be the only person who is still trying to fight and survive and understand truth and align themselves with good and has not given up. I cannot be the only real person that's out in the world. I don't have that kind of ego. I recognize that. And so I make this little video, and the response, I have no social media, no Facebook, no nothing. I told nobody. There are 20 million videos uploaded to YouTube every single day. So what are the odds that one person saw this random little video I did a year ago? Much less 50,000 people. I was blown away. I didn't ever set out to be a content creator. But the thing is that it resonated, and there were others out there. It's like ringing a bell, and people with ears can hear. And we have to stay awake, aware, steady, united, and connected with each other, but most of all, connected to the source of truth and light. Because I'm certainly not it. I can tell you where to find it, which is God and scripture, but I'm human too. It's just, I can reveal to you what's been revealed to me or what I have gone through. And I don't even have the capacity to open people's eyes. That's the thing. God gives us free will, and it's the Holy Spirit's job to open people's eyes. It's like, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. It's kind of like I'm like that guy on the runway saying, look here, with the flares when the airplane comes in, like, go this way, go this way. Like, please be praying, please be reading scripture so that you can be awake, aware, and girded against, put on the full armor of God for sure. But the way to guard yourself against deception is by knowing the truth. And the way that you're able to discern the people around you is by having the eyes of God. And I still get deceived, especially if it's somebody I love. It is very hard. I am constantly praying. And I prayed for 2.5 years, I believe, solid, every day on my knees in earnest for discernment, thinking I meant like, just make better decisions. Like, tell me what I should do. Tell me where I should go. I had no idea what that really meant and what would be revealed. And so, and it's not all at once. It has been this gradual unfolding. And the more you invest in that, the more you in earnest are seeking that. There's a scripture that says, if you seek me, you have already found me. And it made sense to me recently, because you don't seek for something you don't know is there. Does that make sense? So, like, if you're playing hide and go seek, you don't play by yourself. There's nothing to look for. So I understand better now where he says, if you're seeking me, you've already found me. It means you know he's there. And build on that. You can build on that. And so I don't mean to get preachy, but I had to share the news of that other people are hearing about gang stalking. And let me get into, I want to do all of what you guys have to say. And this is LM is saying, it's frustrating that we're all on YouTube, but not in the same communities. It's like there's one of us in every city, state, and country. And LM, I understand. And it may have been you in the comments that I read. I read all of your comments, by the way. I may not always be able to respond in great length because I'm seeing comments from all of my videos, not just one. And so I try to go through all of them. And I spend a great deal of time and emotional investment in doing that. So please know that you're being heard. But I have talked about this before, where we are scattered. And if you look at us as little lights, like little lights, and you're God. Now, I don't pretend to know how God thinks, but if you wanted to light up the world, would you put all the lights in one area, or would you spread them out across the globe? That's how I think about it. If I wanted to light, if I had a mansion and the power went out and I had candles, would I put them all in the living room, or would I put like one in every room? And so that's kind of how I see that, LM, is that our we have to keep shining. I want to make merch. I'm not good at this kind of stuff, but the stuff I've come up with, one of them says shine, one of them says like, and has about the light shines in the darkness on the back, but the darkness has not overcome it. So there's a scripture verse on the back, or I'm living proof, and having that light shines in the darkness and darkness has not overcome it. I'm just not good at this stuff. I have like an intern from the college who's a believer, but she's in school doing other things. And it's just, this was not my goal. I never meant to be like a content creator, but it's where God has put me. And I'm going to keep doing it, even if I'm walking down the street with a backpack again, because it helps just to know you're not alone. It helps just to know there's somebody else out there that understands what you've gone through. And let me see, this is Joanne. Joanna saying, agreed, there is more than one of us in every city and state. Some of us are probably neighbors. It's true. And I don't know. I would never, it's hard. You can't really do a head count for targeted individuals. I imagine there's more than one in every city or state for sure. The issue is, understandably, we are all very, I can't remember the last time I talked to someone like in person, one-on-one about this issue, because you will find very quickly people cannot see it. They will not understand it. You will be gaslit. And so it's in this community that I can kind of breathe. Like, I know that you all know, and it needs to become more prevalent. I first encountered someone else who went through it when I was working in the anti-trafficking space, in working with survivors. And it's very common among them because there is this overlap. This is what they do. So many females who are targeted have experienced exploitation. And this is in books. This is when they've tried to gather statistics. And so when I was working in that space, they are very familiar with this phenomenon, but it's almost like this unspoken thing. Like, if you want to shut somebody down, say the word gang stalking, and they're like, or they Google it and they find that it's some kind of delusion, you know? And so it's very difficult. And the problem with, like, say, even in my community, if I put out a meetup or something, it only takes one perpetrator to infiltrate that group to make the entire community unsafe. And so for a lot of reasons, I think it is hard to gather in person, and why online groups are formed and online things. But we have to, I feel I have to do more. It's just become much more difficult to bring into existence than I had imagined, and to weed out infiltrators. And you can even have somebody who is legitimately a targeted individual, but is not filled with the Holy Spirit yet, and comes in the community, and it would unravel the entire thing. So as I'm sitting here, I'm thinking maybe it's better to just be able to have resources for targeted individuals. But most of us are barely scraping by, and have been, you know, I think of it like the rug being pulled out from under me. It's happened so many times, more times than I can count, that the rug has been pulled out from under me. But it has taught me I'm not attached to material things. Everybody likes to be comfortable, of course. But when I moved in this place, it was the first time I had my own place in a while, and I didn't care if I slept on the floor. And I got used on Marketplace for it, just what I could have purchased a new bed for. I got everything in my house for. So it was somebody moving out of the state. So I get it. And if I lost it all tomorrow, that's how it's going to have to be. I hope I don't, but that's the way that it is. So I'm going to go into comments now. That's all I had on Candace, but I just wanted you all to know. Let's see. Average Citizen is saying I'm referring to prayer, and yeah, and which obviously, yeah, it's, please don't put your, I advise against, some people get in the comments and put their exact location. And so please be aware of how many perpetrators watch these videos and come in the comments. That's why there is a safe community connection and a safe community space, so that when you comment under those videos, it's not seen by the entire world. It's what this community asked for. So, you know, just know that there's a trade-off. And please, I delete the comments that give exact addresses, not to ban you, but to protect you from doxing yourself. Like you're just like putting a sign out, like, here's where I am, to any kind of perpetrators. And so, yeah, let me know where you're from if you want to, but I don't generally say that in my live streams, because we've pretty much learned, like, I even have, and I don't get paid to tell you this, if you go to joindeleteme.com/Stephanie, you can get 20% off of having the internet, your name removed and your information from the internet. They do not pay me to say this. I have used that service for a very long time, and it goes through all of the data brokers to remove your name, your email, your phone number, all of that stuff. Please be very careful about divulging your location. This is a public video and a public platform. It's just not wise. I mean, if you put your state, I understand. But yes, they're watching everywhere, but we don't need to help them. You know what I'm saying? And so yes, and God bless you too. Ben, God bless you too. And I want to make sure I I want to make sure that I get to, especially the members. Oh, thank you. The Steer and me, we love you so much, Stephanie. Thank you for everything, and you're so welcome. This I'm not sure about. I'm not going to read it aloud, but I'm not sure what you're referencing there. And good morning to One Shot. I'm trying to get to you members and average citizen, which sorry to say, anybody that picks on Stephanie because she's got a nice bookcase has something wrong. Let's pray that she has all the, oh, that's nice. This desk and bookcase actually was from Facebook Marketplace. I had nothing, nothing. And there was a family moving out of state. And even the flowers sitting behind me were given to me by the wife of this guy. So I created like this Facebook account that wasn't really me because I'm not on Facebook, and thought I'll just look for like, you know, different things. But yeah, if you want to criticize me for a market, I will give you my bookcase. Like you can have it. I'm not attached to things. In fact, if I were more comfortable, I would just be walking outside doing videos. But I am very careful about revealing my location, and YouTube has this thing about automatic places, and you can look up where somebody is. So yeah, if you want to be critical of a book place from Marketplace, go for it. My only my advice, if you will, is books. I love to read. I love to learn. So yeah, I was very blessed, and I can tell people God will provide, because literally when I moved in and signed this lease, I had not a single thing but my personal belongings. And God provided that with what money I had. I was the family moving out of state. He threw in that lamp. Like, I'm not even kidding you. The lamp, his wife gave me those flowers. She's like, "Do you need some flowers for your new place?" I mean, it was totally God. And so don't be deceived. This is not some kind of mansion. It is a little bitty studio, but I don't need to defend it. So anyway, let's see. I want to get to Shelly says they love to take our voices by banning us on social media for whistleblowing. Yes, that's 100% true. And often I think that oops, I didn't mean to click that. Often, oh yes, yes. I just saw somebody notice ACP, but yeah, it's actually the address confidentiality program is what somebody is talking about. And I've talked about that in my videos before. It is in most states. If you look up the address confidentiality program, you do need to understand, again, we're back to this trade-off where whether it's delete me or it's the address confidentiality program in your state, somebody still has your information. And what I have learned is that, nothing is 100%. And so it's in probably 45. I've used it in 5 states. I've used it in 6 states. And it's where you're given a confidential address. And so, yeah, somebody had mentioned that. That's something. I can tell you firsthand, it's not perfect. It's like creating these layers of deterrence. It's just about creating layers. And so, yeah, somebody had mentioned that it goes on when you have to show evidence that I can't remember. In order to get a confidential address, you have, and I had court records and medical records and affidavits and all kinds of things, that you are a survivor from either domestic violence or trafficking, and you're given an address that will go on your driver's license. It will go on your registration, because I even had this happen years and years and years ago, because if you hand someone your license, there's your address. And so it's another layer, the address confidentiality program. But understand, they're going to want to see, and in a lot of states, like I know in Florida, you have to have an advocate that fills out the application for you. It varies by state. I've been in Nevada, California, Kentucky, Florida. It's become pretty popular. Tennessee, I want to say, Kentucky, Wisconsin. Yeah, so all of those places, if you have can show that you have been a victim of one of those two things, the Department of Justice will give you an address. And Joanna's saying, agreed, there is more than one of us. Oh, I read that. Okay, sorry. But I want to make sure that I address all you members. Let's see what I'll say FC. If you have believed in Lord Jesus, you are born into a royal family and kingdom of personal creator. So you are the enemy. You are enemy of Lucifer, Satan, the owner of darkness, kingdom of this world. So we are at war, and that is 100% accurate. And it's just that not everybody's there with this yet. It took me a while. It was a process of understanding and eliminating and praying for guidance and praying for discernment. And that is the bottom line. It is a spiritual war. We are at war. And I even have made a thumbnail, probably with a video to come out, that we are at war. The enemy sees our light. It says in scripture, we are like a light on a hilltop that cannot be hidden. And Satan sees it. He sees that light, and he's going to go right for it. And so there were kind of a mixture of scriptures in your comment, but point taken. That is what this bottom line is. And when you stir up the kingdom of darkness, he and his minions will descend on your life. Now, what confuses people is that they think it's just spiritual attacks, that there aren't people involved. No, there are people involved. They are vessels, and they are vessels being used by the enemy. We are not talking about ghosts here. I understand there are boots on the ground. There are people that have infiltrated churches, hospitals, law enforcement, you name it, 3-letter agencies, governments. This is global. This is a global thing because evil is global. And so we're not saying that it's just some kind of woohoo attack. There are real people involved, but it's not always about money. Evil acts out of its own nature. When evil behaves, when Satan acts, it says he acts out of his own nature. They cannot rest until they do harm to another. Can you imagine being such a slave to the enemy, that you sit up and ruminate on how you can harm somebody? That blows my mind. And that is what these people are like. And they are like a dog with a bone, or a Rottweiler with prey. They lock on, they don't let go. But God is more powerful. He is more powerful, and he has already won. He has already won this. I don't know how many of you are aware that after Christ died, he went down to Sheol and told them it was finished. They lost. It's over. And so we may not get justice as swiftly as we would like. We don't see what's going on behind the scenes, but I refuse to give up. I know that God is a just God, and that is enough for me. That is meaning I would love to see accountability, of course, because people are living in oppression. But you at some point you recognize, like, had this not happened to me, my faith would not be where it is. But who knows what road my life would have gone down had I not woken up to all of this. Had I was like a blind person stumbling around. Like, it's amazing that I'm sitting here, truly, because I was in a den of wolves that even looked like wolves after a certain point. And I would go in just scared. All the red flags were there. But I thought, I don't want to judge. I'm being overly critical. I'm being, all these things I told myself. I'm overreacting. No, nobody would really do this. Nobody's this calculating. Nobody's this evil. And it nearly cost me my life. And so I trust that beyond anything. I trust my gut when something's not right. And I'm telling you, I have promised the Safe Community members a video, or at least a post every week. And this Friday will be my experience over the weekend. They're still out there. They are still out there. I have created these layers of deterrence. And and all of this, but they're still out there. I stuck my toe in the water, and again, not fear mongering, because I'm not going to live in their fear. If I walk out of my house today and something happens to me, I have come to terms with that. Honestly, I have come to terms with that, but I'm going to keep talking about this until then, because the prison I was living in, like, I don't want to go out. I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm scared to go to the store. That was miserable. And I'm not going to live like that anymore. I'm not going to be reckless, but I refuse to have my blinds drawn and curled up in a proverbial fetal position. We can put on the armor of God. We can fight back with the sword of truth and light. That is our best weapon. And so, Joanne is saying that Satan works through people. Absolutely. There are only a certain number of Satan and his actual angels that were cast down out of heaven. The only way he does his work is through human vessels. He's a recruiter. I hadn't heard that, Joanne, but I do like that. He's a recruiter. I mean, he is the adversary. He is the father of lies. He is the author of confusion. Think about that. God creates, he destroys. The confusion, the chaos, the engineered, it's all engineered to keep you in this fog, to keep you from it's psychological warfare, but the prize is your soul. Because if he can keep you distracted and chasing your tail and fearing for your life and hold up in your room and losing everything and not going to work. I had somebody in the comments this week say, I stayed home. It's the first time I left my house in months because the landlord kept saying they were going to come and check. I'm like, why? And they lost their job. That's what I'm talking about. Like, no, do not let them control your lives like that. You honestly are the object of their obsession. Don't let them become yours. Don't become obsessed with what they're doing. Become obsessed with your survival and connecting to the only real power that is greater than them. And so I've gone on way too long. I couldn't wait to show you all that over 1 million people, at least it's something. And so I hope you got something out of this. And thank you, Prayer Rope. Just know that I love you all. There's more to come, but I had to show you all this, and I hope you were as stunned as I was. I've been just waiting with bated breath, kind of like, please just come on out. I knew she's been waking up. And so I hope it's true. The member I spoke with said, don't you see, they're all involved. They're all involved. And so I could be, putting myself on a limb, and it could be part of the show, but hey, I'm here for us, and I'll just keep trying. And if I have revealed myself through that, then so be it. I'm okay with what comes. Lord, send me. Here I am, send me. It's Hanini, I think, in Hebrew. So I love you guys. I will see you Sunday, if not sooner. So have a blessed day. And stay awake, aware, steady, united, connected. Love you all. See you soon.